Okay, let's unpack this. Do you ever feel like your life is just, well, noisy?
Uh-huh.
Not just actual sound, but
Mm.
visual noise, digital noise, all that mental noise.
Yeah,
Your inbox is maybe a disaster zone, your space feels cluttered, your schedule's packed, and your brain just feels like it's buzzing.
absolutely. Jumping from one thing to the next, never really landing.
It's like modern life is almost designed to keep us perpetually overwhelmed.
Yeah, that feeling is incredibly common, isn't it? We're constantly trying to navigate this um, torrent of information.
Right? Emails, notifications pinging.
Endless social media feeds, work demands pulling you in like 10 different directions at once.
Hmm,
It creates this really deep mental fatigue. It makes it genuinely hard to focus or think clearly or sometimes just find a moment of calm.
exactly. And the material we've been digging into for this deep dive, it goes right at that feeling. But it offers a kind of surprising antidote.
Mm-hmm. It points towards minimalism.
Yeah, but not just as, a style or an aesthetic choice,
Mhm.
something much more fundamental.
That's right. These sources we looked at, they frame minimalism not really as a trend of like bare white rooms, but as a really potent practice,
A practice for what, specifically?
specifically for cultivating mental clarity and enhancing your overall well-being.
Okay, so that's our mission then for this deep dive, to try and cut through some of that noise, using these sources as our guide,
Right. We want to really understand what this practice means at its core.
and explore the specific ways the material says it impacts your mind.
Yeah. And maybe pull out some concrete, actionable steps that you, the listener, can start exploring right away.
The goal is really to use these insights straight from the source material to help you find maybe a clearer path, dial down some stress.
And free up some of that valuable mental energy in your own life,
Oh,
hopefully.
let's dive in. So, first off, just understanding what minimalism is. How do the sources define it?
Well, they define it quite simply, actually, but powerfully. It's the intentional practice.
Intentional. Keyword.
Exactly. The intentional practice of owning fewer material possessions and, crucially, focusing on what genuinely matters to you.
And that focus on intention, that seems really key, doesn't it? The material really emphasizes it's not just like randomly getting rid of stuff.
No, definitely not. It's about actively and thoughtfully curating your life.
Curating,
Yeah.
like your physical space, your commitments, your possessions.
Yeah, all of it. To bring you a sense of peace and clarity. It's about consciously letting go of distractions, whatever form they take.
If they don't actively support your well-being.
Right.
So it's definitely not about getting down to some, I don't know, arbitrary number of items
Hmm.
or living like an ascetic monk or something.
Not at all. And the sources are really clear on this. It's definitely not about deprivation just for the sake of it.
Okay.
It's much more about making conscious, deliberate choices, prioritizing only what truly adds authentic value to your life. It's personal.
And that initial link to our mental state, that's made pretty much right up front in the sources, isn't it? They point out that a cluttered external environment, or even just a cluttered internal mental space.
Yeah, it can be a direct pipeline to stress, anxiety, feeling completely overwhelmed.
Right. And the fascinating flip side that's presented is by deliberately reducing that clutter, both external and internal.
You're not just tidying up.
No, you're actively creating space.
Exactly. Space for clarity, for focused thought, and maybe even for deeper, more meaningful connections with yourself and with others.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. How exactly does simplifying things actually help your mind function better? The sources break down some specific mechanisms.
They do. And one major point revolves around reducing what psychologists call cognitive load.
Cognitive load. Okay, unpack that a little. What does that mean in practice?
Well, just think about it. When you have fewer things demanding your attention, maybe less visual clutter in your room, a shorter to-do list because you've actually said no to some things, fewer belongings to manage or clean or organize.
Right.
That's just less information your brain has to constantly process, kind of on a background level.
Less processing equals less daily mental strain.
Exactly. The sources highlight that this frees up mental energy that would otherwise be spent just managing excess.
And that energy then becomes available for things that actually matter.
Yeah, like focusing on complex work or being fully present when you're talking to someone, or simply having the capacity for a creative thought, or just rest.
It sharpens your focus because there are fewer distractions competing for it.
Precisely. It also helps reduce decision fatigue, fewer choices to make every day about small stuff.
Ah, decision fatigue. That makes intuitive sense. Like your brain isn't running a million background apps all the time.
That's a great way to put it.
What about the environment itself? The physical space?
Yeah, the material really emphasizes that a clean, organized, simplified environment isn't just, pleasant to look at.
It does more.
It promotes a profound sense of calm and relaxation. When your physical surroundings feel orderly, it has a direct positive impact on your mental state.
Making it easier to concentrate, fostering that sense of inner peace.
Definitely.
And I guess just practically, less stuff inherently means less time spent dealing with it.
Absolutely. That's another key benefit highlighted in the sources. Think about the hours saved.
Not shopping for things you don't really need.
Right. Or not organizing clutter, not cleaning around loads of excess items, not repairing things that aren't really essential.
That time and energy, it isn't lost, it's regained.
Exactly. And you can then choose how to allocate that regained resource, maybe towards relationships or pursuing creative outlets, learning something new.
Or just allowing yourself much needed rest, which is huge.
Huge. There's also this powerful idea of mental lightness that the sources touch upon.
Mental lightness. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's the idea that letting go of physical clutter often helps us release emotional baggage too, stuff that might be tied to those items.
Like memories or expectations or maybe past versions of ourselves we're holding on to through objects.
Precisely. There's often a sense of liberation that comes from letting go, which translates directly to a lighter, freer mental state.
And finally, this whole process, it connects back to being more present in the moment.
It does. Minimalism, as it's described in the material, it gently encourages you to slow down.
How so?
Well, when you're not constantly acquiring or managing or striving for more, it becomes easier to step off that hamster wheel.
And just be.
And just be in the moment. It helps clear your mind of those future-oriented anxieties or maybe past-oriented attachments. It lets you experience the present with greater clarity and appreciation.
Okay, so if those are some pretty compelling reasons why this practice can be so powerful for the mind, how do we actually start putting this into practice? The sources give us some really tangible steps, right?
They do. They offer practical ways you can begin. The first, and perhaps the most obvious one, is starting to declutter your physical space.
Exactly. Looking at your environment, your home, maybe your office, and starting to identify things that no longer serve a real purpose or bring you joy.
Could be objects, furniture, those piles of paperwork we all have.
Guilty.
Yeah, me too. But the advice is generally to start small. Don't try to do the whole house at once.
Pick one drawer, one shelf, one corner.
Something like that. The key phrase seems to be progress, not perfection.
I like that.
The intention is to cultivate a more serene space around you, which, as we discussed, directly impacts how grounded and focused you feel. Less stressed.
And it's definitely not just the physical world we need to think about, is it? Our sources explicitly address the digital realm, too.
Oh, crucially, reducing digital clutter is just as vital, maybe even more so in today's world.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about your inbox overflowing with subscriptions you never actually read.
Uh-huh.
Or your computer desktop buried under files. Or just the endless scroll of social media.
Yeah.
The sources suggest practical steps like, hitting unsubscribe ruthlessly, organizing your digital folders, being mindful of screen time.
They even float the idea of a periodic digital detox, right? As a way to consciously reset your mind from that constant input.
Yeah, a deliberate break.
So beyond physical items and digital noise, there's also the concept of simplifying your time, your schedule.
Absolutely. So many of us feel overwhelmed by just overstuffed schedules, back-to-back commitments.
It's the default, almost.
It feels like it. The sources really encourage being very intentional about how you spend your time.
Which means prioritizing commitments that truly align with your values and your energy levels.
Yes, and learning the power of saying no sometimes. Saying no to obligations that don't serve you, being selective about where your time goes.
Because creating that space in your schedule, it allows for activities that actually nourish you.
And gives your mind room to breathe.
Exactly. Space.
Which raises a really important question. How do you apply this whole idea of decluttering to the mind itself, not just the external stuff?
That's a beautiful link made in the sources. They suggest practices like mindfulness and meditation.
Okay.
As essentially decluttering for the mind.
How does that work? Well, by training yourself to quiet some of that internal noise, maybe focus on your breath, or just be present with your thoughts without judgment. You're actively clearing out mental distractions.
So that practice makes it easier to think clearly. And make more conscious decisions in other areas of your life.
That's the idea. It fosters inner clarity.
And when it comes to our actual possessions, the things we own, the sources give specific advice on being more intentional there too.
Yes. They really encourage a shift in mindset instead of just accumulating stuff almost automatically.
You look at what you own and ask honestly, does this truly add value to my life?
Right. If something doesn't bring you joy or serve a genuine practical function, the minimalist approach is about feeling empowered to let it go.
Freeing up not just physical space, but mental space too.
Precisely. They suggest consciously surrounding yourself only with things that genuinely matter to you.
And this ties into intentional consumption, right? Being more mindful about what we bring in.
Exactly. Before buying something new, the sources prompt you to ask, does this genuinely add true value? Not just fleeting pleasure, but real value.
And they steer the focus towards prioritizing experiences over just more stuff.
Yes. Feels like travel or spending time in nature or having meaningful conversations. Those often provide more lasting fulfillment than material goods.
And there was the powerful point about letting go of guilt associated with items, wasn't
Oh, that's a big one. Even if something was expensive or as a gift, if it doesn't serve you now, holding on to it out of guilt is just another form of mental clutter.
Okay. It really sounds like this expands way beyond just having a tidy home. It's presented as a much more holistic practice with significant mental health implications.
That's definitely the deeper layer the sources explore. They show how minimalism isn't just limited to physical objects.
It can mean simplifying your social commitments.
Yeah, or maybe releasing relationships that feel toxic or draining.
Or letting go of perfectionism. Or those unrealistic expectations we sometimes hold for ourselves.
All of that. It's a form of inner decluttering.
And this kind of inner decluttering, that's where things get really profound, isn't it? It creates space for deeper self-awareness.
Yes, for processing emotions, maybe for building resilience.
And the connection back to overall well-being feels really strong in the material.
It is. By clearing clutter, both external and internal, the sources highlight that you cultivate a greater sense of control, maybe a sense of purpose.
Fewer distractions pulling your attention outwards.
Means you can better focus inwards, fostering inner peace, genuine mental clarity. The material explicitly links this practice to reduced stress and improved mood.
You know, in a world that's constantly telling us more is better, more stuff, more achievements, more experiences crammed into every day.
Yeah.
This whole philosophy feels like such a refreshing counterpoint.
It really does. The sources frame minimalism as this powerful reminder that focusing on less can actually be the path to a richer, more fulfilling life.
And there's that core, powerful idea presented throughout the sources that really encapsulates this whole approach.
Which one are you thinking of?
The notion that true clarity often begins with subtraction, not addition.
Ah, yes. Subtracting the non-essential to make space for what truly matters.
So, to kind of bring this deep dive together, the sources we've explored, they show minimalism as far more than just an organizational strategy or an aesthetic.
Right. It's presented as a really fundamental practice for simplifying your entire existence.
Your physical space, your digital footprint, your schedule.
And crucially, your internal thought patterns, your mind.
And the material strongly suggests that this process, this conscious simplification, is a direct route to cultivating greater clarity.
Yeah, sharpening your focus and ultimately finding more peace of mind.
So by embracing this kind of approach, the sources propose you're not just creating tidy spaces.
No, you're actively creating space in your mind.
And with that newfound clarity comes the ability to make decisions with genuine purpose, to be fully present and engaged in your moments.
And ultimately, to live a more intentional and maybe more truly meaningful life.
It really is about creating space, isn't it? Space to think, space to feel.
Space just to simply be.
And the sources, they leave us with a pretty powerful final thought, a compelling idea to maybe sit with.
Which is?
Wellness isn't just about what you add to your life. It's about what you choose to let go of.
That really flips the usual script, doesn't it?
It does. And it raises an important question, I think, for you listening, based on everything we've just explored.
What might you choose to let go of this week?
Could be a physical object taking up space.
Yeah.
Maybe an obligation that just drains your energy, a subscription you never read.
Or even a persistent negative thought pattern that keeps looping.
What space, what clarity, what peace could that simple act of letting go create for you? Something to think about.